There's good news, but there's some bad news. Let me give you the bad news. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. Kick ass. Logic will get you from point A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. There's no way I can afford to become a woodworker. Have you seen these guys' tools in their shops on YouTube? I mean, it's crazy the amount of money they must spend on all those tools. Well, you got to get started somewhere, and just sitting here contemplating isn't going to get you anywhere. In this video, I'm going to go over the essential tools that you're going to need to become the woodworker you always were. Every master craftsman was a beginner. You won't be remembered for how you start. You'll be remembered for where you go and how you finish. Let's get started. Let's talk safety, guys. You only get one set of eyes, okay? Get yourself a set of safety glasses. They don't have to be all fancy like these. You can get some simple ones that look like these. Just get you some. You only have one pair of eyes until you don't. The next thing you're going to want to do is to get yourself one of these. Protect your lungs. A lot of woodworkers are oblivious to the fact that these woods are sometimes labeled with can cause the C word. I don't like saying the C word. Now, will it cause that? Who knows? But the possibility is there. So take precaution and protect your lungs. Now, a lot of woodworkers are also music enthusiasts, believe it or not. They like to listen to music. Well, why not protect your eardrums so you can continue to listen to music? Get yourself some of these. These are like $1.99. They're really awesome, and I wear them in every video, and you probably can't tell that I have them in because of my cap, but they're in there, I promise. I see a lot of woodworkers use headphones, noise cancellation headphones, and that's cool too, but you never know if somebody walks in and you're working alone and you get startled. I mean, you never know what could happen with those.
I already showed some Indians.
Jesus! You can't be popping up on me like that. You do that too much.
But I'm not knocking the headphones. Just make sure they're a decent pair. And I'm sure they make hearing safety headphones so you can listen to music, I'm sure. I mean, it's 2024, so they ought to have something out like that. But I'll do some research, and if I find it, I'll link it in the description. I've got to give a full disclaimer. I'm guilty of making videos where you may not see me wearing my safety gear. I do have safety gear, and I do recommend wearing it. It's a must. Now that my following is getting a little bit bigger, I really need to hold myself accountable, guys. So for safety gear, we're looking at about 30 to 40 bucks. All right, now for the hand tool basics, okay? You're gonna need a tape measure. Most of y'all see me using this in my video, which is perfect for the type of woodworking I do. I don't typically make anything that's over 6 feet. However, if I do, I recommend the Stanley Fat Max, the best tape on the planet. For the 25-foot tape, you're looking at about 30 bucks. For this little guy, I paid about $8. Next, you're gonna wanna get a speed square. This is a mini version of the 6-inch speed square by Swanson, and I highly recommend getting the 6-inch Swanson. I have one laying around, but it's definitely good for marking boards with miters and making 90s, so definitely get you a speed square. The 6-inch speed square is around 12 bucks. This little guy was around $8. I also recommend getting a combination square. These things come in handy for marking out for certain joinery. This will be your next level up. It also wouldn't hurt to get yourself a square like this. This is a smaller version of the bigger framing square, but I absolutely love this thing. This, $10. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen every YouTuber that does woodworking say they never have enough clamps. That, my friends, is the truth. I can attest. So you're going to be wanting to get yourself a set of clamps Now, there's really expensive clamps, but there's really inexpensive ways to go about making clamps. So what I did when I first started out was got myself some black metal pipe from the big box stores and attached this hardware that you can find at any big box store. And it's pretty inexpensive, but I would definitely recommend going this route. You also have your squeeze clamps, which tend to work better for smaller glue ups like cutting boards, or even for clamping down cauls. The next type of clamp you should get would be your F clamp. These type of clamps tend to have some malfunctions later on down the road if you don't keep up with maintenance on them. Make sure if you're gonna use them to tape the metal part so no glue dries on there and messes that up. And don't forget, you'll need some pencils. I like the Dixon pencils, or you can get a mechanical pencil or a pen, or you can get yourself one of these wonderful marking knives. This is for more precision woodworking. However, if you're looking to step your game up, get yourself a good marking knife. Now there's all sorts of marking gauges you can get. You can get ones like these for mortise and tenons, or you can get your marking wheel for marking out tenons and dovetail joinery and stuff like that. But just for the basics, you're gonna need your tape, your speed square, your clamps, and something to mark with. So on the low end, you're looking at around 30 bucks for your basic hand tools. On the high end, you can get upwards of 50 to 60 bucks. Now this is where a lot of beginners are gonna get overwhelmed with what to buy, when to buy it, and which brand to buy. Now, while it is nice having the joiner, it's not necessarily a must-have to start woodworking. Well, what about a planer, Daniel? Do I need to get a planer first before I get anything else? Not necessarily. Most lumber suppliers provide S4S material, which is surfaced 4 sides. So rather than buying an expensive planer, source that option first. We got belt sanders and we got drill presses. All nice to have, but not necessary to get started. So meet me back at the bench and I'll break down the basic must-haves. Now, keep in mind, these are just what I started with, okay? When it comes to power tools, you can wind up dropping a lot of money that you were not expecting to drop. So I'm just gonna give you what basic power tools I started woodworking with. First up, impact driver drill combo kit. I got the DeWalt's because I worked in the field building houses and we've always used DeWalt. It's not my personal preference, I just like them, and that's my battery setup that I already had. Now you could just pick up your impact driver, and most bits that fit in your drill also have an option where they have the 1/4" driver attached to your bit that will fit in the chuck of your impact driver. That's just a little tip between you and I. Keep that in mind. Not only will you be needing the impact driver and a drill, you're gonna need a pocket hole jig. Now, being in construction, I have a job site one where I mount it to a job site bench and we drill pocket holes for our exterior trim around windows because we build our frames on the ground and then set them accordingly. However, they got one that's perfect for the shop, so I wound up picking that up as well. The bigger one is pretty expensive. It could get upwards around 60 plus around 100. This one is a Craig pocket hole jig and it's portable and it comes with everything you're gonna need and even comes with some screws in it. And I highly recommend getting this if you're gonna be building and doing woodworking. Otherwise, what's the point of having the impact or the drill? I mean, yes, you could join wood together using just these two, but this is a great way to hide those fasteners. So for the drill and the impact, a lot of combo kits go on sale. And sometimes they even offer the drill impact skill saw combo or a drill impact flashlight, drill impact oscillating tool. So you just got to kind of search around and feel out what kind of sales they got going on. But I highly recommend getting the combo pack. Now, you're going to need a way to cut your material. Is a miter box necessary? No. Is a compound miter saw necessary? Absolutely not. Eventually, you'll want to work your way towards getting this, It's nice to have, but is it a necessary beginner tool? No, not at all. Now, when you become accustomed to being a woodworker, you will quickly find out that the table saw is the heart of your shop. Is a big 52-inch table saw necessary? Not at all. I started off with a DeWalt 8¼ inch table saw, and that got me by for a couple of years. I don't prefer DeWalt over any other popular brand. However, I found using DeWalt that the fence was dead on, and that's what's important. I've also worked with Bosch, and their table saw fence is also a great fence. So, if you're in a kerfuffle of what to get first, whether it be a table saw or a miter saw, I recommend getting a decent table saw. You can do most of the cuts that a miter box can do on the table saw. Now, if you get into longer stock, that's where you're going to want to get a circular saw. I started off with one circular saw and one job site table saw. The circular saw would get my material cut down to size. That way I could take it to my table saw and then do what other cuts I had to do. And any standard table saw that has miter slots in it, like these, can carry any type of jig. You can build custom jigs, and there's just a lot more options with a table saw compared to a miter box. And that's just my opinion. So anything that the table saw can't do, you can get done with your circular saw. So the circular saw is the next saw you're going to need. So switching back to the drill and the impact combo kit, most of the time they come with a saw as well. Then you'll knock 3 birds out in one stone. Next, you'll just need to focus on that table saw and what brand fits your budget best. But Daniel, why do you suggest getting a table saw before a joiner or a table saw before a miter saw? Well, believe it or not, there's jigs that you can make that will turn that table saw into a jointer. So check it out. With the drill, the impact, and the circular saw, they've got a combo kit on sale right now for $199. Yippee! These sales happen all the time. Keep an eye out for it. I would recommend that be the first thing you purchase to become the woodworker you always were and will be. So, with the drill, impact, circular saw combo kit, that brings us to $200 for power tools. With the 8¼ table saw, you can find a decent table saw anywhere in the range from $150 to $300. You can buy a used one. There's a lot of good used stuff on Marketplace. Just be careful that you don't get scammed. And keep in mind, the circular saw can bevel while it cuts at a miter on your piece, acting as a compound miter. Keep that in mind. So I would hold off on the miter saw and make my next purchase a jigsaw. Now, will a jigsaw be in a combo kit? Sure. Sometimes you'll find the drill, the impact driver, the circular saw, the jigsaw, and the whole shebang in one for around $500, somewhere in that area. But I highly recommend getting a jigsaw. And you can buy these things anywhere from $30 upwards of $2.99, depending on how crazy you want to get with it. You don't necessarily have to have the battery powered stuff or the XR 20 volt bad mamma jamma. You know, you can get a Skill brand, which is much more cheap. But your jigsaw is necessary for your notches and any of the woodworking you might be doing. So this would definitely be on my list of must-haves. Next up on our list of must-haves is a sander. You got to have a good sander. Make sure you get a decent sander. And Bosch, Makita, DeWalt, Win, all the brands make sanders. So work it in with your budget and make sure to get a good palm sander. And last, but definitely not least, up on our list of must-haves is a palm router. It doesn't have to be a palm router. You can get a big plunge router, but this palm router I use on my router table, which is why the base is off of it. But this thing is perfect for cleaning up edges on those projects you have with a roundover or a chamfer. It's awesome for cutting out dados. And say you have multiple pieces that need to be identical. Once you get that pattern established, you just take your pattern, attach it to the piece you want cut with some double-sided stick tape, cut it out as good as you can with this jigsaw, and then take that piece with a flush trim bit in the router, and it will be identical to your pattern. Now, I've had a lot of people asking me about drill presses and can a drill do what a drill press does? And the answer to that is no. You can get it close to level and plumb, but there's a little jig that I just recently learned about, and it's this portable drill press jig that attaches to your drill. So why spend the money on a few $100 drill press when you can just get this simple jig? You've got a portable drill press. There's ways to work around dropping the bag. All right, rock stars, are y'all ready for the grand total? So, for our safety equipment, we're gonna go to the high end at $40. For the hand tools like the tape measure, square, clamps, and pencils, and gauges, we're gonna go with the high end at $60. And for our power tools, we've got that combo kit with the impact driver, the drill, and the circular saw at $199. We've got one of my favorites, the portable Craig jig at $40. And for the table saw that I would recommend, we're gonna go to the high end at $300. You can purchase a cheap jigsaw for $40 is where we're gonna put that. And you can find a decent sander, believe it or not, for $35. And last but not least, the router at $70. Which brings us to a grand total for you to get started in woodworking with the high end of the decent tools, $794, not including tax. If you notice my math there, I threw an extra $10 in there for some cushion. But let's just say anywhere between $700 to $1,000 is what you'll be looking at to get started. But with what I've broken down in this video, you're looking at under $800 to get your woodworking off the ground. Rock stars, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It's not my normal video, but I've had too many requests not to do this. Man, I've had a blast. This has been Bearded Viking Woodworks, and I've been Daniel. Until next time, get in your shop and make some sawdust. Thanks, guys.